Hey everyone, it's Kato, and in today's video, we're going to be redesigning my plaza in Disney Dreamlight Valley. If you haven't seen it, I did design my entire valley in 30 days, and it stayed pretty much the same ever since that video. But recently, Dreamlight Valley added the new castle skins, and they added this spooky Halloween themed skin for the castle, which I absolutely love. I'm obsessed with it. So my thought was I could keep my plaza design and just kind of change things up for the spooky season. I did design this on a live stream, so if you want to go check that out, I'll have it linked down below. But without further ado, let's get right into it. First things first, we really needed to go around and clean up the entire plaza because I've got candy everywhere. We've got twigs, we've got flowers, all the things. So I'm going around, I'm cleaning that up. Obviously, I am going to use the ancient vacuum, even though I don't like using my mist, but I will use it in this case. Now, I do also understand that I'm going to have to clean up this space multiple times while I'm redoing this. And that just kind of comes with it because things spawn over time, and I take a long time to decorate. Now, going into this, my thought process was I want to keep my plaza as close to the original format that I have as possible. So, my strategy was I was going to go place by place and kind of find similar items with similar footprints to replace the ones that I had in the valley. And as always, I wanted to start right in the center with this gazebo, and I had this haunted gazebo in mind that I thought would be perfect. I just felt like if I deleted everything all at once, I was going to get really overwhelmed and feel like I couldn't place everything back like I had it before. And I was also just stressed about the thought that what if this doesn't turn out good and I had this plaza that I liked to begin with, and now maybe it's not going to be something that I like. So we're starting small, just this middle area. I'm placing down a couple of items. So for that spooky theme, I really wanted to lean into the orange and purple, but I just didn't really know how much purple I wanted to go with. So I just started messing around with a couple of the items. We've got the tree companion house, and then one of my biggest concerns. As you can tell, I had a lot of concerns going into this, but one of my biggest concerns was I have so many of those large pink bushes from Storybook Vale, and no other foliage has that same footprint. None of the other bushes feel the same or work the same as that specific bush. So I was really concerned about my ability to fill spaces that had that bush, but I knew that I was just going to have to commit and hope that it all turned out. And then I started working on the fencing and going back and forth between the metal spike fence and the iron spike and brick fence, and I actually really love both of them. The brick one gives a little bit more of an autumn feel, and the other one is more of a spooky feel. But after thinking about it, I really wanted that spooky vibe, so we ended up going with the metal spike fence. And I actually like both of those fences better than the fence that I had here before, just because they're both a little bit taller. So I think if I do try to redecorate my plaza again, I'll probably opt for a taller fence with the hedges because I just think it looks a little bit better. Now, another item that I really wanted to make work is this webbed tree, but the problem is that the footprint of this one, the space around this tree, is so large and it's so difficult to place things next to it. So I really had to find the right spots to put it, and this little spot right next to the bakery was absolutely perfect. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I do kind of jump around from location to location. I have no ability to just finish one spot and then move on to the next. It's kind of like as I'm scrolling through, I'm seeing things that I want to use, and then I'm trying to find a place to put them. So I've moved to the other side here, and I'm really trying to decide what my color scheme is. Now, this is not the case for everybody, but for me personally, I like to work with only a few select colors if possible, especially when it comes to my foliage. So like previously, we had greens and pinks, maybe a couple different shades of green, but it was mostly just greens and pinks. This time I was trying to decide, do I just want to do orange, purple, and green, or do I also want to add in the red? Because we do have those really good bushes from Storybook Vale that have the red in them. There's a ton of good trees that are red from Storybook Vale, but at the end of the day, I decided to go without the red. I think sometimes less is more, And for me, when I'm theming a specific area and I'm really leaning heavily into that theme, I just do a lot better mentally when I have less options to work with. Since we did decide on the metal spike fence, I decided to go ahead and craft a bunch of them and start replacing those other fences that I had because I knew that's the one we were going to go with. And then this is where I started to fully commit to the idea of deleting everything because up until this point, I felt like I still could have gone back and added everything in, but now we're moving to the other side of the gazebo and I'm starting to delete a bunch more things all at once rather than just a couple of things. But I found this wooden spooky clock that I decided to put where the other clock was. I did really enjoy that aspect of kind of redecorating this area because clearly before I had already kind of had a plan. I placed things in a location that I liked them. So it was fun when it worked out, when I had something very similar to use in a spot, to just use the themed version of that thing in the same spot. Does that make sense? Regular clock for a spooky clock, regular tree for a spooky tree. You get the idea. Honestly, thank goodness for this one specific piece of beach grass, by the way, because this specific piece saves me in so many occasions. If you don't know about this beach grass, let me put you on to something, okay? Because when you're decorating with beach grass, specifically this light green color of beach grass, there are 3 different versions of this grass, but they're not separated in the menu. You just have to keep clicking until you find this specific one. It's the really tall one, the really tall blades of grass. And this specific piece of beach grass will layer over other items when you're decorating, and it really gives that like overgrown, cluttered look that I love so much. So if that's also something that you love, you need to go in and find your beach grass that does this. And then I always just kind of hover over one and copy it so I don't have to keep going through and clicking to find the specific beach grass that I want. But it will really just fill an area that feels empty, especially when you're decorating in the plaza and the meadow because it matches those grasses. I wish we had this grass in every different color. Like we do, kind of. We have those other versions of grass, but it's not the same as this one version of the beach grass. Anyway, I'm fiddling with the other side over here. I've placed down some pumpkins. We've got the little leaf cart with the autumn leaves falling out of it. I like how this is looking. I like the jack-o'-lanterns. One of my biggest things at this point was I knew I needed something to balance the height on the left compared to the height on the right. And I'm also trying to balance the purples and the oranges on both sides. I'm someone who doesn't really like things to be exactly the same on each side. I just want them to feel balanced. Now this new well item that we got from the Halloween event, if y'all have not gotten this, you need to go get it. Find the red chest in your plaza, find the well that's hidden in the Forest of Valor. There will be a little puzzle for you to solve. I'm not going to spoil it here in case you want to solve it for yourself. If you don't, you could join the Discord and someone will give you the answer. Or I'm sure if you Google it, someone's already posted it somewhere. You can find the answer to the puzzle. But you need to get this well because it's so good. You do have the ability to interact with this well, by the way. You can turn the birds off if you don't like the birds. I personally love the birds. Okay, now if I hadn't fully committed before, which I kind of had, but if I hadn't, this is the moment where I had fully committed. Because you can see here, I've now deleted everything on this side of the gazebo. I'm collecting all of the things inside. I really want to place down the Nightmare Before Christmas spiral thing because I think that would balance out everything I have going on the right. Now, I did have to work a lot with the spacing of this because this gap between the wedges is very narrow. It's like long but narrow. So only certain trees would fit here, and I really needed ones that were a little bit shorter because when I was standing at the entrance of the plaza, I didn't want to see directly through without something a little bit lower that wasn't just the trunk of a tree. I'm very particular. So I spent a lot of time moving objects around, adding beach grass. I did change the fencing to match the other side. I added in different bushes, the little orange trees. These like medium size, I wouldn't even call them medium. They're like the short trees, but not the bushes. from Storybook Vale are the perfect height for a tree. They're like my favorite tree we have. But then at this point, when I did exit out of the furniture mode, I did feel like everything was kind of coming together, and I was feeling a little bit more confident that this was going to turn out nicely. The next thing that I wanted to work on was the path, and just trying to figure out if I wanted to keep the existing path, because I didn't hate it. This like red cobblestone path is definitely my favorite path that we have in the game, but could it look better if we had a different one? So I removed a couple of pieces on each side of the path, so I would only have to replace a tinier section because I didn't want to craft a bunch of pieces of path that I didn't need. And we really just tried out this sinister brick road and then the ancient path. I really liked both of them, but I felt like the sinister one just matched the spooky vibe more. I don't know. Do y'all agree with me or do you disagree? Should I have chosen the ancient path? I do have that ancient path in my Forgotten Lands and I love it, but I really like the dark spooky one here. And now this is where I started to panic a little bit, because before this, somehow I did not notice that the haunted gazebo is not open on both sides the same way that Tiana's gazebo is. And the whole point of having the gazebo there is so you can easily walk through it to get to the other side, and everything is kind of interconnected, like you just walk through the center. I was very lucky that I did redesign my plaza on stream, so I had chat helping me out, and the Night Thorns light arch was recommended for me to use instead of the gazebo, which I did scoff at the idea at first. I didn't think this was going to be the same vibe that we wanted, but I actually end up loving the way this looks. So ultimately, it was a happy accident. I'm glad that haunted gazebo didn't work out. It was a little bit annoying because this is a completely different size than the gazebo, so I did have to move everything around, but I ended up getting it sorted. Everything got moved. I started layering some things over the path, and I kind of think not only does the light arch work really well here, but having the dark path go through the center, I don't know, I just think it connects everything a little bit better than what we had before. It also really opens up the view to the castle behind it, and I think that adds to the effect as well. I did do a little mini check of how everything was looking at night, and I'm looking and I'm liking. I am obsessed with the way this is turning out. For some reason, these white flowers are glitched on my path right here, so we're all just gonna act like they're not there. It won't even let me pick up a piece of the path, so I don't know what to do about that whole section of my plaza without like resetting the entire thing. I don't really know what to do. After adding some more foliage around and kind of filling those spots that I have in between the hedges, I did find this stone statue piece, and I'm really trying to make these stones work. So first I was thinking over in front of the shops, but it's way too big to go over there. And I ended up putting that green like throw up fountain over there. I don't know what it's called. It's one of the Nightmare Before Christmas items. I do love that fountain. And then I think about putting this where the train car is, but I don't know if I want to get rid of the train car. I had told my chat to not let me delete everything, because the whole point of this was that it was going to be an easy transition from my existing plaza to the spooky one. And I was just gonna kind of change out the foliage, add a couple of spooky items, and that was it. It was gonna be, there we go, it's Halloween now. No one stopped me. They just let me do this. They just let me go on about my life, redoing everything item by item. So I think chat is to blame. It never should have gone this far, but it did. So I deleted the train car. Once you delete the train car, you have to change out the path. I still just didn't love the way those stones were working out. And so then I had already deleted everything. And so I had to find something else that was going to go there. For some reason in my head initially, I thought that I wanted both sides between the hedges to not be exactly the same, but to kind of mimic each other more than I end up doing. So I was thinking I needed all of this foliage. But then I started thinking, what if we put another house skin right here? And it's a good thing that I spend all of my moonstones every week, because I scrolled through and I found the Dark Thorn Cottage and I loved it here. This is the perfect house to be in this biome. It just matched everything so nicely. I think this was the point that things got fully out of hand. And I feel like maybe I've said that already, but no, this is the moment, because once I placed down that Dark Thorn Cottage, there was no going back. I was changing everything about this plaza. I mean, honestly, almost nothing is the same because then I decided, well, what if I take away Remy's house? What if I change all of these buildings over here? What if I just keep the one shopping district? And so I started moving things and I started trying to figure out, are there any house skins that can fit in this very tiny section? Because as you can see, it is a very small area of green. So it is very limiting on what can fit right here. Before figuring out what was going to go in that tiny section where I had Remy's house, I did end up getting rid of the flower shop that was here, and I decided to place the fortune teller's tent. This is actually a new house skin that we just recently got, and it is one of my favorites. I did have to completely redo all of the hedges and all of the fencing on this side because there wasn't enough room. And I had told myself, Kato, self, you're not going to do that. You're not going to completely redo anything. And then what did I do? I redid it. I completely changed this entire side of hedges. Honestly, it was worth it though, because the fortune teller's tent with the orange and purple trees around it, it's a chef's kiss, 20 out of 10. I love this tent right here. Oh, you thought we were done removing the house skins from the plaza? No, we're just getting started. Who needs Tiana's palace up here? That can go somewhere else. I'm just going to move that to the beach really quick. I don't even need it to be up here. Get rid of the stall. Get rid of the house. We'll find something else to put there. So I did put down the nightmare castle where Tiana's palace was. I didn't love it, but I did like it better than having Tiana's palace there. And I felt like everything was balanced because I had the bakery still, and the bakery was diagonal from the shops. So in my head, that side was still balanced with the other side. The only thing was I didn't love that the small cottage was facing the bakery. I really wanted it to be facing the other way, which meant I needed to redo all of the hedges and have the opening on the other side, turn the house around, move all of the fencing, and just kind of completely flip-flop what I had on one side to the other side. Redoing all of those hedges and fixing all of the fencing took way longer than it should have, but I do think that the change was worth it because I love the way it's closed off near the bakery and then open on the other side. I think it looks amazing. As I was scrolling through my house skins once again, because I wasn't done with the idea of changing out more house skins, I came across the Masquerade Gothic Manor, and this is a house skin that comes with one of the Moonstone bundles, and this is the one at nighttime. There are bats all around it, and I decided to place that down instead of the Nightmare Castle, and immediately fell in love with it. I felt like it just fit this so perfectly. I don't know, something about it. The colors, the vibe, the aesthetic, the height of it, everything was working perfectly. Love this house skin so much. But at this point, I still had the issue of the area where Remy's house used to be. And that's when I came across the cozy Halloween cottage. And this house is tiny with a very small footprint and just happens to fit perfectly right where we needed it to. And I just really love the way that it adds to that fall vibe because obviously we have all the spooky stuff, but we're really also trying to incorporate the orange too. So I think this was the perfect fit right here. I'm placing a lot of random foliage different places. I'm still deleting random things. If I scroll through and I find an item that I really like, I'll kind of put it down somewhere just so I kind of remember that I want to use it. I'm still messing with hedges to make those just right. There's just a lot of tweaking that actually took quite a bit of time, but I was panicking a little bit about the bigger decisions that I needed to make because I still had the seating area next to the cottage. We still have all of the area in front of the shops that's not really done. There's a lot of empty spaces, or not really empty, it's just the old spaces. Now, I did end up adding Jack Skellington's house right next to the manor. I love how skinny this house is, and I think this little spot was just perfect for it. After deleting most of the foliage in front of the manor, I did end up deleting the seating area right here. I never really loved that seating area, and I don't really love the section next to the bakery. Those were the easiest spots for me to let go of because I just never loved them. But then I had to decide what was going to go here. And I did end up finding this like Halloween Town car. I think it's called like a Skeletomobile or something. Love this item, and I never have the chance to use it. We also decided to put a graveyard over near the manor. So again, there's just a lot of scrolling and placing random things. Just trying to remember that that's kind of where I want things to go, but not making any commitments at this point. And then it was time, finally, to delete the seating area next to the bakery. I don't know what it was about this area, but it just never felt quite right. I think it was the rock rugs. Deleting it immediately made me feel better about the spot next to the bakery, even though I didn't exactly know it was going to go there. I decided to start placing some cute little items outside of the fortune teller's tent. All of these potion cases and potion bottles. I don't think any of it really makes sense, but I do like the way that all of this stuff looks together. Something about this area next to the fortune teller's tent was really hard for me to get into a place that I liked it. Everything just kind of felt disjointed. I didn't hate the way that the items looked together, but they didn't feel like they were meant to be together. They didn't feel unified in any way. So that was kind of my goal here. I added this potion stand, which I did feel like kind of helped the fortune teller stand make sense. And then you've got Kristoff's stall right across from it. So it kind of feels like a little market, but it was still missing something. We also had the organ next to Remy's restaurant, and it also felt weird and just kind of out of place. But then once I started adding the bushes, different pumpkins, all of that really started to help. But the thing that brought it all together in the end was when I added the rugs underneath all of those individual places. So I added a rug underneath the organ, one underneath the tent, and then one underneath the potion stall. And I felt like that made everything look like it made sense there. Then I decided to shift gears and go work on the area next to the manor. That's where we decided for the graveyard to go. And I do love these little 0 tombstones with these other stones in front of them. I think it's the perfect look for what we wanted. I fixed up the dirt pathing that was over here, and then I ended up adding some fences and some gates in front of here too. And I think adding those really completed the look of this whole area. Now I did end up removing the bakery and putting the haunted gazebo right here. Something about the bakery just was not working. I don't know if this gives the same balance to those other shops as the bakery did, but that's okay. I added this coffin in the middle, and then I put all of these candles around it, and I think it turned out so cool. I actually love the way the gazebo looks. Now at this point, we were getting pretty close to being done. I started going pretty heavy-handed with the foliage, just adding bushes, ferns, rocks, trees, anything you can think of, I was adding those around. But I did know there were a few areas that I really needed to add some more items to. One spot specifically that I struggled with was this area with the fountain. I just felt like the fountain wasn't quite grand enough. I tried to add beach grass around it, but I didn't love the way that looked. But then I removed a little bit of the stones and just kind of did this rounded design. And I feel like that didn't really make it more grand, but it made it stand out a little bit more. And so I just ended up leaving it like that. I probably could have added some stuff around it, but I like the way this little pathing design looks. And my last little area that I wanted to work on was the area around this Halloween Town car. I ended up deciding to put a stall behind it and kind of treat it like whoever was driving this car is a vendor and they're just kind of selling weird, quirky items. Now, I did have to scroll through for a very long time to find exactly the items that I needed, place down different rugs so this also didn't feel out of place. But I think if you're ever trying to use some really unique items, having a traveling vendor like this, I feel like you could do this in a lot of different spots and just add whatever items you want to. And then all we had to do was add a little bit more foliage and change out all of the lights. My chat convinced me to do purple lights, and I hate to admit they were right. I do love the way the purple lights look. And that is it. That is my full Spooky Plaza makeover. I really changed so much more than I ever anticipated changing. Like I've said, this was supposed to be just me changing out a couple of things. I knew that I wanted to get rid of the foliage and add the purple and orange. I knew I wanted to change out a couple of the items, but I did not anticipate the amount of changes that I was going to be making. But at the same time, I am so happy with the result of this. This could be one of my favorite builds that I've ever done in Dreamlight Valley. I just think that everything is so bright and cohesive. It's just fun to look at. I just really enjoy walking through here. So that was my completed Spooky Plaza makeover. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate if you'd like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.